Hey, welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and welcome to another book series conversation. Hey you guys, welcome back. So if you notice, I'm doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to call this a book conversation, a book series conversation, and I'm going to start a new sort of page, if you will. What do you call that? A new conversation with you guys. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to necessarily recommend this, because this was a series that I was kind of like, what the heck did I just read? And not like, what the heck did I just read in a good kind of way, because it was like over the top, raunchy, and like crazy. No, this was just like, what is going on? Like, I felt like this author tried to cover way too much, and the series was kind of all over the place, and it was really difficult to find out the reading order, because I like to give it to you in the proper order that it needs to be read. So I just have a lot to say, and I'm not even sure where I got this recommendation from. I think I may have heard Lovely Like Laura talk about this, and I'll link her channel down below. I think she talked about book 1, and you know me, I gotta go like all crazy like and go all deep and get all the books. And so then I got all the books, and then I was like, well, now that I'm here, I'm gonna read them because I'm not gonna waste my money. And then when I was reading them, I was like, what the heck am I reading? So let's just talk about it. So this is the Coincidence series, and it's the coincidence of Kayden and Callie, and then Violet and Luke. So let me give you a little synopsis first, and then we'll talk about the books. So the synopsis is that there are 10 books in the series currently, and this is a new adult or college age romance series. If you like series like if you liked Elle Kennedy's series, what is it? The Score, The Goal, the Mistake, The Play, The Risk. I can't remember the name of the series, but if you like that series, if you like Tamara Weber's, Easy, that sort of series, or if you liked, I'm not even going to put it with After, because it's not even as good as After. It's like, it kind of falls in that same vein, but it's nowhere near, for me, for my taste, as good as those series, but it's in that vein. And what I mean is, it's set around 6 people or 3 sets of couples. The 2 couples are Callie and Kayden, Violet and Luke, and Seth and Grayson. And they're all friends, and they all are in this Wyoming town going to the University of Wyoming together, and they're going through sort of coming of age type issues, but also sort of dealing with real life circumstances that, come from their past, their childhood, that they have to deal with in order to be effective couples for each other. Okay, so they are all freshmen. It all starts off that they have left high school and they are freshmen in college. Now, Callie, Kayden, and Luke have all gone to high school together, and they've known each other through high school. Seth and Grayson come onto the scene because they have met them in college. Okay, now the thing that I do like about this series is that there is no artificial angst. Many books, as a plot point to drive forward a plot point, put in this artificial angst about lack of communication and misunderstandings and, false assumptions and drama, and I overheard you talking to this girl and you're cheating on me, but you're not cheating. Like all this other angsty stuff that makes the angst go up, and it kind of makes me a little bit crazy. Like, I'm okay with a little bit of angst, but not too much. So this is a very low angst series in the sense that the drama that goes on amongst these couples is legit, valid drama because of trauma and circumstances that have happened to them in their past that they need to work through and navigate. And we do that with each of the couples. Okay, so as I said before, there is a difficult sort of trying to figure out and navigate the reading order. And I'm going to tell you that you can go on to Jessica Sorensen's website, and she's going to give you a reading order, which I'm going to go through. But I can tell you that it absolutely doesn't make a difference. You can read all of the coincidence of, so it's the coincidence of Callie and Kayden, the redemption of Callie and Kayden, the resolution of Callie and Kayden, the Evermore of Callie and Kayden, which is out, not in paperback, it's only on Kindle, it hasn't come out yet. And then the final book is The Promise of Callie and Kayden. And that's a full story, and you can read it just like that and skip over the other books. Or, likewise, you can read The Destiny of Violet and Luke, The Probability of Violet and Luke, The Certainty of Violet and Luke, and The Truth of Violet and Luke. And again, if you read those, they're almost like two separate series that there's a little bit of overlap, but not really anything that's crazy. So if you don't read it in publication order and you just want to hear about those couples, it is absolutely acceptable and fine to do that. And then Seth and Grayson is kind of like off to the side in terms of their story, and I'll tell you where it makes most sense to read that. Even though they have Seth and Grayson to read at the end, it doesn't even make any difference because it goes, Seth and Grayson's book goes back to the beginning, and in each of the books Seth and Grayson are already together anyway, so it's like I didn't understand what the author was doing. So let's just get into it. Okay, so the first book is The Coincidence of Callie and Kayden, and this is about Callie who you realize very early on that something terrible happened to her when she was 12 years old at her birthday party, and you very quickly get that she was raped at her birthday party when she was 12 years old. You don't know who, but you just know that this happened. And as a result, it changed her entire life, expectedly, right? Like, of course it would. So it changed her entire life. So immediately she changes her demeanor. She cuts her hair all off. She dresses in baggy clothes. She becomes a recluse. She stops talking to people. She develops an eating disorder. It's never said that she has an eating disorder, but it's very clear that she purges to kind of get rid of all the terrible feelings that she's experiencing. Okay. So the book starts off with her brother, who is part of the cool crowd. He's older than them, but he's come back and he's gone to a party at Kayden's house. And Kayden is a star football player, and they're having a graduation party at his house, and so everybody's there. So her mother like drives Callie to go pick up her brother, and they're like, her mother says, go in and get Jackson. And Callie is, because of the way that she's dressed and she's such a recluse, that she is ostracized, and she's like, do I have to, Mom? And her mom is like, you need to go in there and get your brother. She's like, shit. She's like, all right. So she like gets her gusto up, and she goes in here to get her brother, and she hears an argument that's happening outside, and she happens upon a scene where Kayden is being beaten up physically by his father, just beaten to a bloody pulp. And she is a very shy girl, so she musters all of her courage, and she goes up and she says, I'm sorry, Mr. I forget what Kayden's last name is. Kayden, like Mr. whatever. She's like, is my brother Jackson here? Because she doesn't know what else to say. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, oh, you're Coach's daughter. You're such and such Coach's daughter. And she's like, yeah, I'm Callie Lawrence. Like, and I'm here to la da da. And so she like basically saves Kayden from being beaten to like unconscious by his father. And so she then helps Kayden, and Kayden is like, hey, he's like, do you mind, father? His father rushes off, and Kayden says, do you mind, like, doing me a favor? Will you go inside in the bathroom and get me a first aid kit? I want to get cleaned up, and I want to go inside. I don't want anybody see me like this, and do me a favor, please don't tell anybody about what you saw. And Kaylee's like, sure, dude, no problem, like, whatever. So she absolutely does that, and they have a moment together. So then that's the end of the first chapter. So fast forward like 6 months later or something like that, and they're at university, and she is with Grayson already, who she has befriended. That's why I said it makes sense to read Seth and Grayson's book after this. So she's with Grayson, and she bumps into Kayden on campus, and when she bumps into him, there is an instant connection. He doesn't recognize her, and the story sort of unfolds from there. And so at the campus, there is Luke is there, Kayden is there, Seth is there, who Callie has become best friends with, and they all sort of rekindle their relationship. And so there are some things that we start to learn about Kayden. We learn that he comes from an abusive home, and we learn that he has some certain unhealthy behaviors that he's coping with his trauma. Callie is trying to cope with her trauma. Kayden very quickly understands that something's going on with Callie. There's a jealous ex-girlfriend from the past. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this book, and this book in and of itself is good. This is a 4-star. It's low angst. Once they sort of figure stuff out, it's not about external drama and artificial angst. It's really about overcoming demons and trying to learn how to live and trying to learn how to launch and how to be a pseudo-adult and how to try to figure it out and leave the demons you have to confront the demons of the past, and you have to call people out for what they've done, but you also have to leave it in the past. And that's what this is, and that's why I say this is a coming of age story. And so anybody that's dealing with trauma, that is a young adult that's trying to figure it out, that's trying to find love and trying to trust again and to try to be open on both sides, whether you're male or female, whether you've had a rape or whether you've had people that were supposed to love and support you assault you and beat you and tell you that you're no good and that you mean nothing. This book is really powerful in this sense, so I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to say then, this is not how she lists it in the reading order, but I'm going to say next you should read Seth and Grayson, because Seth is talked about so much here and Grayson is talked about here, so you want to hear what's going on with them. So I think that next you want to hear Seth and Grayson's story, and Seth befriends Callie at one of the first classes on campus because he sees a kindred spirit, because he also has been abused by someone he loved for being gay. And this is and Grayson comes from California and has been accepted his whole life and has never had to deal with any of those conflicts or challenges. And so they come from different walks of life, where Seth is from the Midwest, from Wyoming, and has been ostracized and made to not feel comfortable with his sexuality and not even be able to be honest with his sexuality. So it's a coming out story, coming of age story, being honest, being accepted, trusting. And so he's allowing himself to be vulnerable in showing Kayden and Luke that he's gay and hoping that they're not going to take advantage of that or harm him or hurt him in some way. So that's this book, and I'm going to say that you should go ahead and read it. Although this is not the best representation, in my opinion, of an MM romance. Like, I just didn't think, it felt flat for me and it didn't do a lot, so I gave it a 3-star, just because the story could have been fleshed out so much more and it just wasn't. So she could have done a lot with this and she didn't. So that's that. So then next, this is the redemption of Callie and Kayden, and the last book ends, the coincidence ends on a cliffhanger, and so it picks up here and it takes off like right where it left off, in that Callie finds Kayden in a very, very scary situation and is left to try to pick up the pieces. And now that she's trying to pick up the pieces, Kayden's secrets are being revealed, things that he has hidden, that he's too ashamed to discuss and talk about and ever tell anybody about. And so you're dealing with mental health issues, you're dealing with unrequited love, you're dealing with fear, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with self-harm, you're dealing with suicidal behavior, you're dealing with rape, you're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with open honesty and confronting people that have harmed you and telling everybody your secrets, that, you know, like literally purging and telling what you have kept in order to keep people around you safe and to prevent them from being harmed in some way. So it's all about being brave and trusting and being open. So again, this book is really, really good. They did a great job. This is a 4 out of 5 star. I absolutely loved it. Okay. So then, this is where I got a little off kilter, because I was like, if we just would have continued with Callie and Luke's and Callie and Kayden's story, it'd have been fine, but it didn't. It jumped. So now we jump over here to Violet and Luke's story. So this is where she says to read it. This is how she wrote it. So the destiny of Violet and Luke is, we heard a lot about Luke because Callie in this book leans very heavily on Seth and Luke. And there is you hear not a lot, but you hear about her roommate Violet, and you see that Violet has a reputation around campus of being promiscuous because Violet is Kaylee's roommate, and she always has a red sock on the door to indicate you can't come in because I'm entertaining guests. Well, we get to hear Violet's story, and Violet is another one that comes from the foster care system. Her parents were murdered at a very young age. She was left in the home with her parents for 24 hours while her parents were dead, and they never found out who did it. And so now this is the story of solving the mystery of what happened with Violet's parents and what happened in the multiple foster homes that Violet was in. Luke also comes from a very damaging past. His mother clearly is suffering from a drug addiction and mental health issues, and you get to hear some of the stuff that Luke's mother did to him, and it is all very trying and very, very complicated. And now the story, rather than it becoming a coming of age, it's becoming like a romantic suspense. It's almost like the author changed gears midway through writing. What complicated the series and really understanding what was going on with this series. So, having said that, that is Luke and Violet's story, and it's very intriguing. And when you're in it, you want to know, because everything ends on a cliffhanger, so you want to know what happens and where the story goes from there. So this is like a 3.75. Then we go into the probability of Violet and Luke, and in this story, this is where we're discovering connections between Violet's past and Luke's past. And I don't want to go into it too much because it's going to give it away, but it's uncovering secrets and solving mysteries, and whether or not the probability of them is going to work out because of all these mysteries and secrets and things that are happening and people that are stalking and following and just really and Luke trying to like drink himself to death and engaging in dangerous behaviors, and Violet is engaging in adrenaline seeking reckless behaviors. And so again, the secret series is just all over the place in terms of everything that's going on, and I don't see how it all really connected, but so this is like a 3-star for me. And then again, this is them coming together. We see cameos from Callie and Kayden. We see a lot of Seth and Grayson because Violet and Luke live with Seth and Grayson now. And so here, this is a culmination, but this ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on a crazy cliffhanger, and I have no idea what happens, if the mystery is solved, if things are coming together. It just kind of left you hanging, because then the next book jumps back into Callie and Kayden's story. So you're just like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on here? So I don't know what happened. I'm not going to continue on with the series, so I don't know what's going to happen with whether or not people are getting caught and tried and justice is coming. You don't know. So that's what's going on here. And then the last book that I have, the physical copy, is The Resolution. And this is, just Callie and Kayden sort of moving forward, figuring it out, taking their relationship to the next level, taking that next milestone, having families accept one another, finding relationships with extended families, and then sort of a culmination of like everything. So that's why it's a resolution. It's the resolution of everything, and then sort of finding what their HEA is going to be for them. And then I'll put over here the Evermore of Callie and Kayden, which is like a little novella. It's 80 pages. The physical paperback hasn't come out yet, but you can get it on Kindle. And it really is taking the story in a suspense sort of direction. So it ended on a cliffhanger, and something happens with Kayden. Callie gets a new job. As she is going into her final year of school, she wants to become a writer. She gets a new job. She's put on an assignment, and the assignment sort of opens up a mystery that she's trying to discover answers to. So that's why I said it just went in a weird direction, and it just didn't, she tried to tackle too many things, and the series was all over the place. So if I were to say this, she should have written The Coincidence of Callie and Kayden and had that be their story and be done with that. And then write Violet and Luke's story and have that, and have it be a sort of a spin-off. Violet and Luke should have been a spin-off of Callie and Kayden. That should have been the main focus. But she was doing too much and tried to wrap it together, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So overall, I'm going to say that the series is a 3.75. Now, if I were to, recommend anything, these first 2 books are great. Like, if she would have just made this a duet and had it be Callie and Kayden, and this is a duet, and they got their HEA, and that would have been that, I'd have been cool. This would have been great. But everything else that she did with this series, which was too much, and I wanted her to just, like, settle down and, like, go back to the drawing board. And I was actually surprised. Jessica Sorensen, when you look at her website, this woman is like, she's like an assembly line, just putting out books. So I'm just like, it was a lot. So will I read anything else by her? Probably not. I'm probably beyond that because of the dark romance that I tend to read and the type of books that I want to read. But as I have said before, this was a nice palate cleanser. I liked what I read to give me a little bit of a break from sort of the heavy stuff. And then when I go back into the stuff that I really love, it will give me sort of a really like, ooh, that was good. I liked it. I appreciated it. So having said that, you guys, that is all that I have for today. You guys know that I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will be back with more book recommendations as opposed to book talks. All right, you guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.